everyone, this is the first lesson in Algebra 2 for Unit 6 on rational functions. We're going to look at graphing, and some of this is going to be repetitive from what we've done before because we're going to be looking at identifying transformations, how the graph moves from its original parent function, and then we're going to be looking at finding the domain and the range, and we have two new words here, vertical asymptote and horizontal asymptote. And this is very simple. Everything is related, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you. The first thing that I want you to see is what the parent function looks like. And so the equation for a parent function, the rational parent function, is going to be this. Y equals A over x minus h plus k. Now we have worked with a, h, and k before, so I'm going to show you what each variable represents. When you see a, and a lot of times it's going to be a 1, so you really don't have to worry about it, but sometimes it's going to be a different number. So if it is, it's either a stretch or contraction. And it also tells us if there is a reflection. So if you see a negative number in the top of the fraction or you see a negative out in the front, it is definitely going to be a reflection. The h, which is with x in the equation, is going to be a move left or right. And remember, this is the one that goes in the opposite direction from what you see in the equation. So if it's a minus h, you're going to move right. If it's a plus h, you're going to move left. And then the k is going to tell you how to move up or down. So identifying the transformations should be very simple. We've done this before with other parent functions or other functions, but this is also related to what we call a vertical asymptote, a horizontal asymptote, and the domain and the range. So let's look at an example. The first example that I have for you is going to be y equals 1 over x minus 2 and then plus 3. So if we look for what the transformations are, first of all, I'm going to look in front of the fraction. There's no negative, so I don't have to worry about a reflection. A is 1, so I don't have to worry about a stretch or a contraction, but I do have a number in place of h. And that means I'm going to move left or right, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction of what you're seeing. So if that's a minus 2, I'm going to move right 2. And then we have this plus 3 at the end. Remember, that's like the k. That tells you to move up or down. Since it's positive, that's going to be an up 3. Now, there's also domain, range, vertical asymptote, and horizontal asymptote. So the vertical asymptote is going to be the next thing that we talk about, and I'm going to write it out. That's the way you spell it, asymptote, but from now on I'm going to put VA. And then we have the horizontal asymptote, and I'm going to abbreviate that as HA. Well, they go with the equation with h and k. Your vertical asymptote, you're going to get from the h. The horizontal asymptote, you're going to get from the k. The domain is related to the vertical asymptote, which is h. The range is related to the horizontal asymptote, which is k. So the VA is always going to be in the form of an equation, x equals a number. Well, what number do you see with x? You see negative 2, but remember, we're changing the sign of it. So that's going to change to a positive 2. So the vertical asymptote is x equals 2. Now, what that means in terms of a graph, we're going to look at in the next lesson. But right now, I just want you to be able to identify it. And then the horizontal asymptote is going to be just like that, except it's going to be in the form of y equals a number, and it's going to be the k. So in this case, that's going to be 3. And remember, we do not change that one. Then the domain, and I like to write it this way because domain and vertical asymptote are related. The domain is going to be every x value except the 2, which is your vertical asymptote. So notice how close these equations are. One is it's equal to 2, the other one is it's not equal to 2. So if you know the vertical asymptote, then you really know the domain. You're just going to put a slash through that equal sign. The same thing holds true for the range. You're just going to copy that equation that you wrote down for the horizontal asymptote, but you're going to put a slash through it. And then that's going to be your range. Let's look at another one. How about this one? Sometimes you're not going to have both the vertical and the horizontal asymptote, so I'm going to show you one where we actually don't have an h with the x. So when that's the case, you're going to use 0 as your equation, which ends up being one of your axes when you go to graphing. So let's look at the transformations, because you'll have to identify those. There is no negative in front of the fraction, so there's no reflection. A is 1, so there's no stretch or no contraction. And there's not even an h with the x, so there's no move left or right. The only thing we have is this k, and that is a -4, so we're going to move down 4. And that's it for your transformations. Now, when we look at the vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote, remember the vertical asymptote is the number that's with x. Well, we don't have a number with x. We still have a vertical asymptote though, and it's still going to be in the form of x equals, but if there is no number, you put 0. The horizontal asymptote, remember that's the number that is k, and so that's going to be in the form of y equals, and that's going to be -4. And once you know those two pieces of information, you can tell the domain and the range, because remember, you're just going to copy those equations over, but you're going to put a not equals instead of an equals. Okay? And then I'm going to do one more. So this is going to be the third example. So let's look at this one. Y equals -2 over x minus 5 plus 4. So now when we name the transformations, we actually have a negative in front of that fraction. So that is going to be a reflection. We also have a number other than 1 as a. So we're going to put stretch by 2. Okay. We also have an h with the x. Remember, that's going to be a left or a right move, and we're doing the opposite of what is in the equation. So if that's a -5, we're going to move right 5. And then we have a k value of 4, so we're going to move up 4. So we actually have 4 transformations in this problem. Okay, now let's move to the vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote. Remember, the vertical asymptote goes with x. So that is going to be the opposite of what you see. So that's going to be x equals +5. Your horizontal asymptote is going to be the k, and so that's going to be y equals 4. And once you know those, you can write your domain and range. Remember, you're going to copy that equation just like you see it from the vertical asymptote, but you're going to put a slash through the equal sign because it's every number except 5. And for your range, it's going to be every number except 4.